We are in Parashat Naso. We're going to be reading from the Noam Elimelech, the teachings of Elimelech from Lizhansk. It says in the parasha, Daber el bnei Israel, you should speak to the nation of Israel. This is referring to Hashem is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, of course. And then it says, Ish o isha, a man or a woman, ki ya'asu mikol chatot ha'adam, that they will sin. And not only just will sin, yasu mikol chatot, all different types of sins. נראה לי, it seems to me, בהקדים לפרש פסוק זה, I will try to explain this verse, he says, איש או אישה כי יפליל לנדור נדר. He says, before I explain this verse, there's a different verse that it also says, a man or a woman that will take on themselves a vow. Not only that, nazir lehazir leHashem, יש לומר. That the person that will take on himself a vow is called like a nazir. What does it mean, a nazir? A translation of a nazir is a monk. But the word nazir in Hebrew comes from the shores hitnazer. So I stop myself from doing something. Whatever it is, it can be something physical, can be emotional, can be your thoughts. You make a decision. I decide I'm not going to do something anymore. This is the idea of a nazir. So when a person takes on himself a neder, he says, you know, I'm going to stop lying. I'm going to stop talking lashon hara. I'm going to stop judging people the wrong way. Whatever it is. So we do have a verse in the Torah that it's talking about a person that takes on himself a vow, and they're called a nazir. They prevent themselves from doing something. And usually when you have a decision, it's easier to say, okay, I decide now for 90 days not to do something. You know, we just talked now about Shmirat HaBrit. One of the ways of stopping when a man, chas v'shalom, desecrates the Brit, is to say, okay, for 40 days now I'm not doing anything. Okay, psychologically, say that's it now forever. How would you able to sustain that? When you say, okay, 40 days or 90 days, then it's easier to pull through. But nevertheless, it says, HaTorah HaKdosha ramza lanu bezeh. What is the Torah trying to hint to me when it's saying about the person taking on himself a vow? It hints to us, lelamed darkei Hashem, to teach us the paths of Hashem, to go close to Hashem. And after all, what is the Torah here for? Torah is not here to tell me historical events. Many people think the Torah is just telling me the creation of the world and then different eras, whether it's the era of Noach and then the era of Abraham and the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. One can say, no, the Torah is a history book of our nation. That's how some people relate to the Torah. It's just the heritage and the history of our nation. And no, it's not. The Torah is a manual. That's why it's also called Torah, because Torah in Hebrew comes from the word in the word in Hebrew, hora'ah, to teach you. So the Torah comes to teach me something. What does the Torah come to teach me? I was born in this world. I opened up my eyes. It took me 20 years to realize what's going on here. Usually the first 2-3 years, the baby doesn't have any da'at. Da'at means any type of corresponding or comprehension to this world. It just, eats, sleeps, plays, and that's their life. And slowly our mind, it starts getting developed. And for the first 20-30 years of my life, I'm just living my life here. I eat, I go to sleep, I'm looking for pleasures. Then when I get a little bit more mature, I start thinking, well, what do I want for my life? When you're 16, you're not pondering about the universe. You're just looking for the next excitement. But at some point in your life, you start pondering, what am I doing here? Why did I come here? Where am I going? What's with this life? And usually it will happen when life starts becoming not so easy. When you're young, then the world takes care of you. Suddenly when you hit 17, 19, 21, suddenly you have to take care of your own. And that's when the Torah starts coming into action. Because most people at that point in their life, I mean, some people, they're still in their 50s and 60s, they still didn't figure that out. And they're still walking around in circles. But the point is that if you want to look at it in a kind of a funny way, we just somehow thrown into this world. Our eyes open up in this world like you wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, you're like, whoa, where was I now for a couple hours? I wasn't me. I was in some other universe. I was kind of dead. I didn't function in any type of a way. I was just thrown on the bed. But where was I? When you really think what a weird thing is, what a weird thing is sleep. You leave your home and you just go to some different universe, which you don't know where you are, what's going on, who's there. You meet people, but they don't really exist, or whatever it is. Just a very weird thing. This whole night sleeping thing. And you wake up in the morning and like, whoa, what's going on? Where am I? Takes you a few moments to land. Same thing here. The soul gets thrown into this world. Now try to figure out what's going on here. So if you're lucky, you're born to the right place, you figure out in a very young age that I have a schedule here, I have an agenda in this universe. And if you're not lucky, then Hashem will slowly will lead you to a point that you kind of figure out, wait a minute, what's going on here? Yesterday I opened a certain website to read the news, and it says in big title, an article, now it's official, we have proven that there isn't life after death. And that was the name of the article. Not that I was even bothering to even read it, but it's just funny that if the fact that they even came out with such an article means that everybody, at the end of the day, is constantly something going on in the back of their mind, what goes on after. So it doesn't matter who you are. You can be the biggest atheist, you can be the biggest agnostic individual. At some point, when life comes when life becomes narrow, you start thinking, wait a minute, what's going on? There has to be something in the...
That's all there is.
Exactly. So, with that said, the Torah is the manual to come and tell you, now you have came, if the Torah should have started with, like that book that you just read, started if you have this book in your hand, it's Ashgacha Pratit, you have a merit that the book somehow got into your hand, the Torah has to start something along the lines of saying, now that you figured out that there's something greater than you, let me teach you how to deal with this world. But nevertheless, the Torah starts with a story. So the Torah really comes to teach me, what am I supposed to do in this world? How can I achieve it? How can I actually better myself? How can I fulfill the mission of my life? And so forth, and much more. That's why it's called Torah, because it's coming to teach you. Torah comes from the word in Hebrew, hora'ah. So he's asking here, what is the Torah trying to tell me with this few verses? It says, lelamed darkei Hashem, is to teach you the path of Hashem, what Hashem is expecting from you. If I hire you now for a job, and I don't give you any instructions, you're just going to be sitting and being like, what's my job? Well, I hired you, but you didn't tell me what I need to do. I showed up on time. Now give me what to do. You figure it out by yourself. So imagine that boss will tell you such a thing. You come to a job, they tell you, okay, the definition of the job is so and so. You want the job? Take it. I pay X amount of money. But imagine you would come to a job, the boss will tell you, what are your qualifications? I know to do this, I know to do that. Okay, you're hired. Come tomorrow at 8. You show up at 8, yes, what do I need to do? Well, you figure it out by yourself. I don't know what I need to do here. Same thing here. The Kadosh Baruch Hu hired you and he told you, let me tell you what I want you to do. This is a job description. So when it says Darkei Hashem, the path of Hashem, is the job description. Hashem tells you, okay, I'll tell you what I want you to do. I want you to put tefillin on, I want you to put talit on, I want you to be nice to another person, I want you to do charitable acts and so forth. So Torah comes and says, I want to teach you the path of Hashem. Birtzot ha'adam lashuv midarko ha'ra'ah. When does this apply? When they know in Hebrew we say Shenofel ha'asimon. In the olden days, if you remember the payphones, they had a little dime. And in Israel, it wasn't a regular coin. In America, you have a quarter, or I don't even remember how it worked. But nevertheless, in Israel, there was a asimon. Asimon was a funny-looking coin that had a hole in it and like a little line, and it would slide in. And I remember as kids, we would wear like a chain and the coins, those asimon was on it, and I have to call my mom. I always had asimonim. I remember it so clear. It was 5 agorot for asimon, and if you buy a few more, of course, you get more free. And I always had this little chain in my pocket with asimonim. I mean, to make a phone call. Now everybody's, they have cell phones. Everything is. Once you had to go, and sometimes it would be a payphone, and somebody would talk on the phone with a girlfriend. Come on, man, I need to make a call. Get off, and you'll be like, so the good olden days. So the way it would work, especially in the phones in Israel, you would put the simon in, the dime, the coin, dial the number, and only once they will get a line, the bling, the dime will go down. So in Hebrew it's a slang, nofela simon. So sometimes a person can, you tell him a joke, he looks at you, nothing happens. Half an hour later, Makara, what happened? And now I got it. So what is nafala simon? This is the term that we used to use. So like in the olden days also, the lights, there was fluorescent lights that had this little starter. I don't know how it's called in English. In Hebrew it's called starter. And then sometimes they would come to turn on and the light will flicker till it turns on. Same idea. So here the Torah says, when does the Torah come to actually assist you? Shenofel ha'asimon. When finally the person says, oh, you know what? Birtzot ha'adam lashuv midarko ha'ra'a. Then a person wakes up and says, okay, my path is not the wrong. I'm going on the wrong path. It's a bad path. It's when you drive on the highway or you drive on some street and at some point you're like, I'm lost. Honey, ask for directions. No, I know where I'm going. And at some point you're like, okay, I'm lost. I need to figure out where I'm going. I'm going on the wrong highway. Yeah, when the person suddenly wakes up and he says, okay, I need to change my path, that's when the Torah comes and tells you, okay, come and now let me teach you how you need to change your path. So it says, when a person wants to לשוב מדרכו הרעה ומדרכיו המקולקלים, and from his rotten ways, ורוצה לעשות תשובה, and he wants to do תשובה. Now, if you don't do it yourself, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu will bend your hand. If you don't realize by yourself you need to do tshuva, Hashem will give you an opportunity, and then He will give you another one, then He'll give you another one. If you don't wake up by yourself to say, okay, I need to change my ways, Hashem will bend your hand and say, okay, now do it. Now I'm going to put force in you. And then the person wakes up and wants to do tshuva. לסגף עצמו בסיגופים ותעניות. In the olden days it was more common. Now they don't really do that. But in the olden days when somebody wanted to do tshuva, the first thing he used to do is start fasting. Start putting pressure on the body. In Hebrew it's called sigufim. Siguf is when I don't want to say the word torture, but I make myself suffer. Why? Because at the end of the day, when you're sleeping on a very comfortable bed and there's a lot of food in the fridge and everything is comfortable, you're spoiled. When you're spoiled, you're not functioning well. I never seen any army in the world that the soldiers are sleeping in beautiful, comfortable beds and they have air conditioning in their quarters, and that okay, you want to wake up at 8. I'm sorry, Sergeant, you have to wake up. Usually in the army, you sleep on the floor or in sleeping bags. I slept in a tent for a year and a half. Every time it would rain, we had a river in the tent. And an army is tough because you only get good when it's tough, and when you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and when there's a lot of pressure. That's when you get efficient. When it's things that are too comfortable, you become lazy and you don't do anything.
They let you sleep?
Sometimes. But nevertheless, same thing here. When I became observant, I was very harsh on myself. I started by, first of all, for about 2.5 years, I would fast 3 times a week, morning to night. And it wasn't easy to fast. I mean, the first time, okay, fun. Second time, after a while, it's every second day to fast. And I would put myself through, it's called sigufim, that you deprive yourself from things. Instead of sleeping for 5 hours, sleep for 2 hours. And make yourself get out of bed. So you'll be tired all the time. And no, I have to continue going. In the olden days, it was more common. Now everybody's very, soft. No, don't put too much pressure. People, they can't take the pressure. The other day we were learning here a little bit about Gehenom and Gan Eden. Somebody told me, listen, you're putting people under pressure. Putting people under pressure. He's like, listen, did you notice you were talking about Gehenom and the soul, and if the sin has to go to Gehenom to be cleansed, people get under pressure.
Snowflakes can't take it.
So I said, oh, they're getting under pressure? That's so sad. So better get under pressure here than to meet the reality in the world above and then say, oh, now what? So yeah, so sometimes you have to put some pressure. I don't believe in being too nice and to sugarcoat things and it's too hard for you. Okay, so don't do it. You know, in my home is the army. Kids do something wrong, they get screamed at. My wife is like, no, you're too harsh on the kids. No, I'm not. Let them learn. Life is hard, and you have to be educated. You can't be educated when somebody, excuse my language, I don't even know how to say it in a nice way, that pats you. Oh, it's okay. So you need to get a patch on your tuchas every now and then. But nevertheless, when the person wants to do tshuva, he at least, this book is from 200 years ago, so he says, he wants to put himself under control. When you want to do a diet, have you ever seen somebody that does a diet and says, okay, today I'm going to eat whatever I want, and whenever I want, and how am I going to lose weight like this? You're not going to lose weight. You want to lose weight? I'm sorry to tell you, no more cakes, no more cookies, no more candy. Yeah, but it's not comfortable for me. But I'm not asking you, that's the diet. So, same thing here. Person wants to do tshuva, has to put himself under control. Now, if you want to do that, it has to come from chokhmah. Don't just do whatever you want. It's time to put pressure over the body. You have to do it in chokhmah. You have to do it with intellect, with sechel. Laskil b'sigufav, that the siguf should be with a chokhmah behind it. Don't start coming torture a person. Do it in a wise way. This is what it means that when the Torah says a man or a woman that will take on themselves a vow, that's exactly what it means. He wants to say that pele, a wonder, the chokhmah is a wonder here. It has to be done with a lot of chokhmah, with a lot of wisdom. When you want to put this restriction on you, don't just throw something into the air. It has to be done the right way with a lot of wisdom. Let's say, just for the sake of the example, to make it more clear. Person has an issue with drinking, and he says, I know I have an issue. Now, some people are smart, they admit themselves into a rehab, say, I can't handle it. Some people say, no, I will now take a vow on myself, I'm not drinking for 90 days. So, and one might say, listen, I think 90 days is too much. Why don't you start with a month? No, I want 90 days. Well, 90 days is too much. What's going to happen is you're not going to achieve your goal, you're going to break in the middle. So start with slow. And the person says, no, I want to go all the way. Okay, and then the person fails. So this is an example of if you're already taking on yourself something, do it in a wise way that you can actually do it. So, le'at. So one of the things that when I became observant, I wasn't really observant. I didn't do mitzvot. So I put tefillin on, I ate, I make sure that I'm not eating meat and dairy, but I wasn't so much doing mitzvot. I wanted to more first refine myself. So the first thing that I wanted to get rid of is the dirty language that came out of my mouth. Because every word that came out of my mouth was a swear. And every person that I would talk to, it was not a nice way of talking. So even between friends, this is something that I when I'm looking back, it's very hard to understand. Sometimes people talking between friends in a very derogatory way. So a friend will say A, the other friend will answer B. What are you? Like, why are you talking? It's such a not nice way of talking. And every second word that came out of my mouth was mamash, a curse, a disgusting word, and it bothered me. Actually bothered me, and I was like, this is what I want to work on. I want my language to be clean. It wasn't easy. And then, of course, the second thing that I started working on, I wanted to stop lying. Very hard for me, the lying part. So I didn't say, okay, I'm stopping in one shot. It would be almost impossible. I was like, okay, I'm gonna minimize it. Gonna just remove a little bit. If I lie 100 times a day, then today I'm gonna lie 99 times. One time, I'm gonna choose one time of the day that I really want to say a lie, to hold myself and to be aware and to control myself. Don't try to go the whole way. Do some small increments. So this is one or two example out of many how one wants to take it to do the restrictions in a smart way, not to just, sometimes people, they get excited about Torah observant, they go to a lecture, they get all excited, and then the next day they're like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and it doesn't last long. It lasts for 20 days, for 30 days, for 40 days, and then they start, they're too much. They take on themselves too much. So take it slowly, that you build some type of a system here. But nevertheless, it says that it has to be done in great chokhmah. Now the verse goes and it says, Nazir lehazir leHashem. When it's talking about the Nazir is the one who restricts himself for certain things. It says that he's a Nazir to Hashem. He does it for Hashem. Pirush. The word Nazir hu lashon nezer ve'atara. Nazir comes from the word nezer ve'atara. That's like a crown, something nice, that you crown something. What do you usually crown? Something that is nice. My daughter 2 weeks ago had a birthday. She came home from school with a crown. And she's a little girl, so I had to talk in her level. Oh, what do you have on your head? So she was, I'm the birthday girl. I have a crown. So I'm 3 years old today. So she had a birthday, she got a crown. So this is a Nazir comes from the word Nezer ve'atara, something that is nice and you crown it. Perush, what's the meaning? Sherotzeh la'asot atara l'Hashem. When you're taking on yourself something to better yourself, it's because you want to make Hashem look better. You want to crown Hashem. You want to make Hashem's name be greatened. I want to make sure that Hashem looks good. For example, he gives an example here. What happens when a person wants to get off alcohol? Miyain v'shechar. This is one of the things that the Nazirim used to do. A Nazir can't drink wine, can't even drink grape juice. And they take themselves oath, a neder, that's it, I'm not drinking wine anymore. So it says here, Miyain v'shechar yazir, he restricts himself from wine and being drunk. רוצה לומר, גם משתיית יין, even from drinking the wine, יראה לעשות נזר מזה להשם. By the fact that you're saying, okay, most people, unfortunately, when it comes to alcohol, they lose their focus, lose their ground. Some people can drink a cup, 2 cups, they say l'chaim, they're getting to a good mood, they can sing, and they're happy. Unfortunately, sometimes the wine works the complete opposite way, and then the person goes off the right path, and then what will be the result? Screaming and violence and fighting, and it doesn't look so good. It doesn't make Hashem look well, especially when you're wearing a yarmulke and a tzitzit, and it's done on Erev Shabbat, and instead of a Seudat Shabbat being nice and holy, it becomes a fiasco. So nevertheless, when a person does that, יראה לעשות נזר מזה להשם, שיעשה בקדושה רבה. You're making Hashem look better, because you're doing it in a holy way, you're doing it in a holy fashion. Now he continues and says, חומץ יין וחומץ שחר לא ישתה. When the person takes on himself this oath, he doesn't drink the wine and not even vinegar. פירוש, that's what it says in the Torah. אם אין שתייתו בקדושה, אז שתייה זאת היא כחומץ. If the drinking is in a holy way, you do kiddush, then it's nice for Hashem. But if you're abusing it, it becomes like vinegar, sour. So there's nothing wrong. You see that in our faith, in many occasions we drink wine. Every time there's a kiddush, Friday night, you drink wine. Havdalah, you drink wine. Brit Milah, you drink wine. A wedding, you drink wine. Obviously there's something special there. There's something behind the whole wine thing. And why every time there's an auspicious occasion, we say a blessing on the wine? There is something there. Not for now to explain, But nevertheless, when it will be abused, then the taste of the wine becomes sour and it becomes like vinegar. Now, I don't know many people that just likes drinking vinegar. Wine at least is something, but to drink vinegar? But nevertheless, it says then the drinking becomes like vinegar. Chazak v'kashe v'sofora. It's strong, it's harsh, and the end is not good. Usually when a person abuses the alcohol, the end is not good. It's not going to have a nice ending to it. V'shtiya kazoti lo yishteh. So a person, why get yourself into this headache to start with? Don't do it. V'chol mishrat anavim. And then the verse continues and says that in every type of a mixture coming out of grapes, al derech de darshinan b'gemara, as it says in the Talmud, specifically in Tractate Psachim, chad amar, one said, lit'am ke'ikar, v'chad amar leheter mitztaref le'isur. One opinion says that the grapes is for the taste, and one says that it's a heter, and if you add it, it will add up on a isur, on a prohibition. V'aynu chatzi zayit heter, meaning that a little bit of the grape juice, the wine, is okay. V'chatzi zayit isur mitztaref, and you add just one more measurement of the wine, and that's already a prohibition. Basically saying, in other words, you can drink a little bit. One says just drink it to taste it. I don't know if you saw, it's not always the case, but you see maybe sometimes in weddings, in bris, whoever says borei pri hagafen just takes a little sip, doesn't drink the whole thing. But nevertheless, so the Talmud says, when you sip a little bit, it's fine, it's a heter, it's a rauto. You add just a little bit in the measurement that is called kezait, it's becoming already a isur. It becomes already a prohibition. It says also, the halacha says when a person drinks, she shouldn't drink more than a revi'it. A revi'it is 28 milliliters. That's it. That's what you need to drink. You don't need to drink 17 bottles to abuse it. Unless you can really hold your alcohol and it makes you in a good mood and it adds, great. Doesn't, don't do it. It's just the end is not going to be nice. Nevertheless, ונראה שמר אמר חדה ומר אמר חדה ולא פליגה. It seems that both of them, that each one said something, talking about the מאמר in the Gemara, but there wasn't a argument there. ואחד רמז בדבריו הקדושים דבר אחד, והשני דבר אחר. Both hinted into two different things. הוא טעם, היינו הסתכלות איסור חלילה או איזו מחשבה והרהורה. It's referring to האיסור, to a prohibition, that chas v'shalom, a person has a bad thought or a hirhur, thinking of something negative. Hu ki keikar avera gufa. When a person has a bad thought or impure thought or thinking about something that is a prohibition, you're not allowed to do, the thought is becomes the main part of the avera. And you can use already your own imagination to what it means. But we just learned now about Shmirat HaBrit. Sometimes the thought, the actual thought of the Avera becomes the essence of the Avera, the part of the Avera, not necessarily the action, rather the thought. It's very easy to sin in thoughts. To sin in actions is a little bit more sophisticated. You have to do an action for that. Not always it's easy to do. But in your mind, your mind can take you to Wonderland if you want. My mind will take you wherever you want. So it says, the hirhura, thinking of something that is impure or bad, it becomes the main part of the sin. וצריך לשמור עצמו מאוד בזה. And one needs to be very careful with even letting his mind taking you somewhere. כמו מעיקר עבירה, because that's gonna end up being the main part of the sin. Is the fact that it's already in your mind and the mind is impure. Umar Amar, and one said leheter, one said that dafka with the wine, he's just explaining here the mamar in the Talmud. And one says, no, it's okay, if you drink a little bit, it's fine. Why? What really prevents you from serving Hashem or from being involved with the Torah? The fact that you have to worry about parnasa, about money. If now most people would have had a lot of money, they would still learn all day long Torah. They wouldn't worry about, what do I need to worry about? Let me still learn Torah all day long. I don't have to worry about the mortgage. I don't have to worry about payments. And most people, some people, even if they would have millions of dollars, they wouldn't learn Torah. They will just be in Mexico all day long. But nevertheless, I'm talking about a normal situation. A person that would have money will say, what do I need to worry about anything? Let me just learn Torah. What will stop a lot of people from learning Torah is the fact that they have to go and work. And not only that, the Parnasah doesn't come so easy. If you work 3 hours and get your enough livelihood, that's one thing. But most people all day long, they need to work and make money and they work another 2 hours, another 3 hours. It's very hard, and that will cause you to stop you from serving Hashem the right way. It's time to pray in a minyan, but exactly that moment you get a call for the job. I gotta go, I gotta make money. What am I gonna do? Or you want to learn some more Torah, it's time for a class, and your boss tells you, I need you to stay another 3 hours. So what are you gonna do? Well, I need the money. So that causes the person to be, so to say, prevented from serving Hashem. That's why it says that making money is as hard as splitting the sea. There are 3 things that the Torah says that are as hard as splitting the sea. Finding your other half, but one of them is Parnasah. It says Parnasah kasha kikriyat yam sof. To make a living can be as hard as splitting the sea. Verubam nichshalim chalila be'esek masa umatan. And most people fail when it comes to business. They cheat, they steal, they lie, they're not honest, they use, misuse, and so forth. That's most people, unfortunately. Very few people are very honest in business. And it doesn't mean you have to be a business owner. Even being an employee, it's very easy to so to say, cheat the boss. He's not looking, whatever. So I never forget, I was in a situation and I needed something, and a person says, oh, in my office there's a little room with all the stationery, I'll bring you some. Are you stealing from your own where you work? No, it's a huge company, it's just a few papers, or a few staples, whatever it is. It's not yours. It's not yours to use. Even an employee, a lot of people say, oh, if you're a businessman or business owner, I understand where you fail. But I'm an employee, how am I failing? Well, who says you're allowed to use the phone on long distance calls? Who allowed to say that you're allowed to abuse what the boss gives you? And if you're paid by the hour, any moment that you're not working, you're stealing from your boss. If you have a job description and you work 8 hours, you go on during your 8 hours and you check your email or your Facebook, you're stealing from your boss because you're not working right now. Unless the job allows you or gives you a certain time for a break or part of your job is to do these things. But even an employee can easily cheat. Very, very hard. If you know, there's a midrash that says what happens when the person dies. The first thing that takes the soul up to Shamayim, they start asking the soul questions. And what is the first question they ask the soul? Hayim asakta beyosher. Have you dealt with business in an honest way? It's the first thing they ask. They don't ask the person, did you learn Torah? Did you pray in a minyan? And the first question is, Hayim asakta beyosher. Were you honest in business? The second question is, Kavata itim la Torah. Have you set times to learn Torah? So you just see what the heavenly court cares about, and you obviously can learn from that. Most people fail when it comes to being honest in business. It's very easy to cheat in business, very easy to round corners, and very easy to take advantage, and not saying that it's impossible, but to find a person that is straight and honest in business, this is like a diamond. And he says, Rubam nichshalim chalila be'esek masa umatan. It's very tempting. Most people will fail when it comes to business. It's very tempting to see a person who's saying, "Oh, I can easily get another $100 from this guy. Let me lie." Not only that, sometimes people are under pressure. They need money. They become under pressure. When you're under pressure, you don't think straight. You're just thinking of what the money needs to get. שצריך להיזהר מזה מאוד. When it comes to business, one has to be extremely, extremely careful with that. וכולי היי ואולי. And then not only that, with everything, one needs to be very, very cautious. when it comes to any type of situation where I can fail. There is a midrash that says that, if you remember, I talked about a couple of times about a certain portion of something that we read. It's called Perek Shira, where it's the singing of creation, the psalm of creation. And if you read through it, you see that it's like says what the animals say to Hashem. They praise Him, even the trees and the fruits. And so the pigeon, the dove, it says, וזה שאמרה היונה ריבונו של עולם יהיו מזונותיי מרורים בידיך. It says that the dove, it says to Hashem, Hashem, I rather that I will get my parnasai or sustenance from you, that it will be bitter, than to get it from a human being and it will be sweet. That's what the dove says, the pigeon. ומסורים בידיך, and I rather just get my sustenance from you, Hashem. Meaning, שהבחירה יהיה בידך, שאתה תבחר ולא אני. That Hashem, I want you to choose what's good for me, not I will choose what's good for me. Especially when it comes to business, בעסקי מזונות, especially when it comes to money. כי מתיירא אנוכי שאם יהיה בידי, because I have fear that if the decision will be in my hand, שלא אתמוטט חלילה מחמת שצריך לזה שמירה גדולה, that I will not fail. So I rather give my faith in Hashem instead of putting that faith in my own eyes. וזהו חצי זית איסור וחצי זית היתר. That's what the Talmud says, that half a zait is a measurement, is a prohibition, and the other one is allowed. מצטרפים, that you put them both together, they become one. דהיינו שקצת עושה באמונה לפעמים. This is referring to that it's talking about half and half, that sometimes you do something with real belief, you believe in Hashem, and sometimes not. ולפעמים להפך חס ושלום, and sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes you have a good day, you're like, no, today I'm going to be very honest. And the next day, you have a weak day, and today you say, okay, today I'm not going to be so honest. אז גם היתר נבלע באיסור. Then what happens is, you give yourself a discount, and whatever is permitted, it gets swallowed in whatever is not permitted. חלילה, God forbid. וזהו וכל משרת ענבים. That's what it says, that if you have already a whole mixture of the grape juice, and that's what it's referring to. Basically saying, in other words, just to put a little bit in simple words, what he's saying here, is that the Talmud is talking about when a person will squeeze grapes and make wine out of it. And it's discussing what is the amount that I should make wine from that it's considered allowed. And what is the amount of wine that it will be already going across the line and it will be already forbidden for me. Why are they talking about that? Because if I make a little bit of wine, then I will only drink a little bit of wine. I'm not going to put myself into any risk here. But if I'm already doing a lot of wine, one might say, yeah, I'm doing a lot of wine because I will have it now for 2-3 weeks or a month. But I'm putting already myself into danger, because if I have a lot of wine stored in the closet, I might be tempted and says, hey, you know what? Why should I just drink a little bit? Let me drink whatever I have. Then I'm putting myself into some type of jeopardy. So the Talmud is discussing what should be the amount that one should prepare himself wine. Don't forget that the Talmud 2,000 years ago, it's not like today that I just go to the convenience store and buy whatever amount of wine I want. In the olden days, you had to either go to buy it from somebody, and you would buy a little amount. You know what it is to get wine 2,000 years ago? It wasn't like today. You know, sometimes all you need is too much rain and it kills the vine, the vineyard, or however it's called, and then no wine anymore, or whatever it is. A fox will come in and start eating all your grapes. So wine was a very precious thing. Now we just got so spoiled that everything is just in such an abundance that we don't even realize how spoiled we are. Once everything was like a big deal. You know what it is? A few hundred years ago, to have a meat meal. Oh, chicken! Wow, chicken was like a big deal. Nevertheless, so the Talmud is discussing what's the amount of wine one needs to have. Why is it discussing that? Here, the Talmud is discussing the halacha part of it. And there's always a moral and something deeper in here. And it's basically saying here, you need to make constantly a calculation. What is the amount that is enough for you to keep you safe? And what is the amount amount of whatever it is, can be your thoughts, your behavior, what would be that amount that will put you already into jeopardy? That you allow yourself too much, and that will cause you to fail. Now this can be in something very simple, and it can be in severe things. In something simple, I don't know who did that. I think the person that did that, we have to really put him to some type of court, or lock him in, or torture him to death. There's a certain individual that invented action that is called the snooze button. And this person should be locked up for life or assassinated. Why would you invent such a thing? The snooze button. You know what it causes? It causes 90% of people when they wake up to hit the snooze button, and you go back to sleep.
That's what the smart ones said that earlier, so you can snooze it
once. This is exactly what it's talking here. Why would you why even you set a snooze button? If you set the snooze button, then it says, in other words, I'm going to not wake up at the right time. Because I give myself a leeway, then I give myself a discount. What am I basically saying, in other words, when I set the snooze button? I'm setting the alarm for 6, but really I don't want to wake up at 6. I want to wake up at maybe 7, I don't know. We'll see what the snooze button convinces me. So this is how pathetic the whole idea behind the snooze button. Set the alarm to 6 and get up! Why are you putting a snooze button? Why? So if you want to put the snooze button, so set the alarm ready for 8. Why are you lying to yourself? So the person who invented the snooze button is maybe the Samech Mem, the Yetzer Hara, I think, invented that. So this is an example in a very, very small and not such a harmful way when you're not setting boundaries and when you're already saying, okay, I'm giving myself a buffer zone to fail. Now this is one example. I'll give you another example. You're saying, listen, I gain weight very easy. Not me. But a person knows that they gain weight very easy and they want to keep their weight. If you know that if you eat 5 donuts, you'll gain weight, why would you buy a box full of donuts? Just buy 1. Now one person will say, let me buy 3 in case I'm going to have a guest. Or maybe later on I will want to have one. Why would you even give yourself a leeway? You know it's not good for you. So you want to put a restriction, buy that 1 donut, enjoy it with your cup of coffee, but don't give yourself already the option that option will open up an opportunity for you to sin or to fail. And again, this is one example out of many. I can give you now 50,000 examples in the same way. If you want to go already to something severe, we just started learning before about Shmirat HaBrit. Now if you know you are weak in that department, why would you put yourself in jeopardy? If you know that by looking at the wrong place, it will entice you, seduce you, take you to a bad place, and you're going to end up sinning in a severe sin, why would you even put yourself there? Why would you give yourself the leeway? Put the block right away. It all starts from what you see. That will cause you to do the action. So if I have a problem with stealing, and I have an issue with stealing money, why would I even give myself any leeway in business? Because it's going to make me at some point, I'll just do a little bit more. So this is exactly what he's talking about. So he just pulls a saying from the Talmud when the sages are talking about, here the example is talking about the wine. If you know that by putting yourself in risk, by making more wine, then don't do it. Why put yourself in that risk? And here he brings it back to the same idea of the person who takes an oath or a vow not to do something. Because when you take an oath or a vow, you're saying, that's it, I'm not doing it. I'm taking on myself a decision not to do it. So this is what, he concludes and says, "V'zeu ishu isha ki yasu mikol chatat ha'adam." We started by explaining the verse from our parasha, that it says, here a man and a woman that will do whatever sin that comes up to their opportunity, they'll do it. רוצה לומר שיהיו ביניהם זאת שנחלשים באיזה הרהור עבירה. The person has to understand that if you fail even in your thought, it's like as if you did the sin itself. Because our thought is very, very powerful. And if I allow myself in my thought to do the sin, what is that different in the actual action? Our sages say, Hirhur avera kashe me'avera. the thought of the sin is worse than the sin. Because the sin, you actually have to do an effort. And the thought, no effort. It's already in my mind. You don't put yourself into some type of a boundary. ויהא בעיניהם כאילו מעלו בהשם, וזהו למעול מעל בהשם. And just take into consideration that even if you let yourself sin in your mind, is you went against Hashem. You went against the path of Hashem. Now he continues even more. We'll stop over here because it becomes a little bit longer. But just to summarize what he's saying here, specifically based on this verse from the Torah, is that our nature is to be very quickly enticed or seduced or tricked to do a sin. It's very easy. This is our nature. Because the sin tastes good and it usually will satisfy me and it's the easy way out. It's very easy to sin. But I need to put myself into the position of understanding that even if I actually don't do the sin, sometimes a person says, I didn't do the sin, I just thought about it. Yeah, but even when you're thinking about it, that's that little leeway that you're allowing yourself to get into this buffer zone that will cause a danger later on. Don't even put yourself in there. So first he's talking about if a man or woman sins, what he says, what's the solution? Is to be a Nazir. Now, the Torah is not expecting you, to everybody, to be a Nazir and then to stop from doing everything. But it says when you know you have some type of a weakness, then you have to put whatever boundaries to stop yourself from getting to chas v'shalom, from failing there. If one person has a weakness with alcohol, then don't go to a bar. If you have a weakness with women, then don't go to the place that will cause you to look at the women. A bar. Whatever weakness you have, if you have any type of a weakness and you know of it, that's why he says the restriction has to be done with chokhmah. You have to be smart. If it's like those people that they know that they have an issue with gaining weight, and they still buy that cheesecake. I'm going to gain so much weight. Tomorrow I'm going to have to start a diet. So if you know something's not good for you, why you put yourself there? So I don't like those people who eat the 17th piece of cheesecake. It's so unhealthy for me, but so just take a piece, enjoy it. Why have to abuse it? But nevertheless, his simple words, what he's saying here, you need to know your boundaries. You need to know where you easily will fall and fail. And again, we gave some examples where it's food or alcohol or whatever it is. If you know you have a weakness with alcohol, don't put yourself in that situation. If you know that you can control it, fine, enjoy it. Make Hashem look good. And you know what? When you restrict yourself from something, the reason why it's called Nazir, because it comes from, like we said, the word Nezer ve'atara. You're making Hashem look better. You don't have to be observant for that. It doesn't mean because you have a yarmulke, you're making Hashem look better. The fact that you know your weakness, we all have weaknesses. It's not a bad, some people think that they are less of a good person because they have a weakness. There's nothing to do with it. We all were created with weaknesses. Why? Because Hashem wants you to overpower the weakness. He wants you to acknowledge it and to use whatever tools and means you have to go over the weakness. I'm not going to have that I can actually overpower the weakness. So saying in other words, to take something practically from what you're learning, you have to know exactly what are the things that will chas v'shalom cause you to fail, and to know how to put the boundaries the right way. Here he's saying the word Nazir, when you actually take on yourself an oath or a vow not to do something. If that's what's going to make it work, then do that too. But nevertheless, the Torah comes to teach you something very simple. If you know that something's bad for you, just know how to handle this buffer zone that will put you into a place of risk. And the snooze button is a perfect example. If you know you have issues with waking up, why would you set a snooze button? Or why would you set up the backup alarm? Once the alarm clock was a simple, that box, and now the alarm clock is in your phone. So first of all, it gives you the option of setting up like 3-4 times. So you're ready from, before you even go to sleep, you said, I'm going to put the first one to ring at 6, the second one will ring at 6:30, the third one will ring at 6:45, and I'll put one for 7 just in case I didn't hear the first 3. So you're already telling yourself, I'm waking up at 7 instead of at 6. Set it up for 6. Bless you. Put in your mind, when you have the option of the snooze button, you're already putting in your mind that I can sleep in.
I put mine at the other end of the house.
Yeah. Yeah, and turn it off. That's what I do. My alarm clock is, you have to get out of bed. And you let yourself, when you put yourself in this danger zone, so to say, and this is not a sin, but this is something small, but the fact that you don't have rules in your life and boundaries and a schedule, then when you're giving yourself a discount here, you'll end up giving yourself a discount here. You'll end up giving a discount here. Before you know it, you don't have any boundaries or rules. The Torah is about boundaries and rules. To put yourself under a tight shift. So, and again, this is one example of many. You can use your own imagination to how it reflects in your life. The Torah comes to gives you very good advice. If you know you're weak somewhere, don't even create a buffer zone. It's like, we have also all these issues now in the borders of Israel. I don't agree with how they make it. They make a buffer zone. But you know what happens? And it means that the ones who want to get close to the fence, they're allowed to go into the buffer zone. Why you allow that? That's where they can get all the way to the fence. So the way it's done is not the right way. Here's the fence, you get close, you get shot. That's it, that's how it works. That's how more normal countries do it. You touch my fence, I'm going to kill you. So, but they're allowing a buffer zone. What happens in the buffer zone? Then it's free motion. You can do whatever you want. Oh, it's a buffer zone. So this is one example of many. But the Torah comes and tells you, use the method of restricting yourself. And this, you can do it in a vow, in a neder. You have to be very careful what you do because you can't break a vow. Or it has to be done in a smart way. But the method behind it, I told you already, when I became observant, before that, I didn't have any restrictions to anything. I abused everything that is possible to abuse. So, and then when I became observant, I was like, okay, I have to get rid of all this junk. So I had to stop. I used to smoke a lot. Anything that literally, it's not so important right now what and how, but I had to get rid of everything. And I was like, you can't quit smoking if you're saying, okay, I'll have, instead of 40 cigarettes today, I'll have 39. Just quit. Just get it. Just throw it out of your system. And one after the other, systematically, I started pushing over all the things that caused me to be dependent on. So you have to know where your boundaries are. You have to know where your weaknesses are. And exactly the example gives with the Talmud. If you know you can drink a little bit and you're still good, fine. If you know that a little bit, kazait is a measurement, is a very small part. But if that piece is going to really put you into danger, don't do it. Don't do it. It becomes an isur. Isur is a prohibition. And needless to say, when you do that, then you put yourself into you surround yourself with rules that the Torah makes you go on the path of Hashem. Hashem says, I will show you how to get closer to me. And the way is, don't give yourself too many discounts. Don't give yourself too much freedom. When you give yourself too much freedom, then you bow to fail. And needless to say, the most important thing, what he says here, it has to be done in a smart way. That's why you can't just do whatever you want. It's even good to either consult with the right person or to do it in a smart way that you're not going to put on yourself too much strain or too much pressure. But nevertheless, like he said, it has to be done in a smart way. But the end result is that it takes you to the path of Hashem. And Hashem, if you notice, the Torah is full of rules and full of restrictions, and everything is precise till the measurement. There's no discounts in the Torah, and like you can do from here to here. The Torah says, no, this is what you have to do. So we want to reach to the path of Hashem. We want to reach to the ultimate level that I can reach. Then I have to follow what the Torah says. The Torah knows how to tell me, if you put yourself under a strict diet, you'll get to the goal where you want to get. This is a short explanation of that little verse found in our parasha. Mezran Hashem should take from that we know how to put things in the right perspective and how to spiritually, emotionally, physically grow in a healthy way, that I know how to keep my boundaries, that will save me from failing. And needless to say, we all want to be successful and reach to our goals. And that's the way of doing it, to know how to set the right rules, the right boundaries, and that's where you see the successful people. The successful people, there's rules, and there's boundaries, and there's lines that you cross, that you don't cross, and what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. When there's chaos, then you're never going to be successful, never reach anywhere. Because there's nothing that will be able to contain, even if you have a lot of good going on. When there's not a kli to contain whatever is in it strong, and it just spreads all over the place, and you end up losing it. So the Hashem should know how to apply that in a wise way so we can continue growing and growing.